Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back once again to a brand new Let's Play. Today we're starting the game that I promised would be doing next, which is SMT2. This game came out in 94, I want to say, for the Super Famicom. It never made its way across the oceans to anywhere but Japan, so I am playing on a translation patch made by Aeon Genesis. Thankfully, this translation patch is a lot less buggy than the one they did for the first game. That said, there are still a few bugs. None of them are game-breaking, though, and I have never run into any of them. So cross your fingers that luck holds. So, with the little introductory stuff out of the way, let's talk a bit about this game. I think this is a less fun game than the first one. It's not got to do with the combat, which in a lot of ways is more polished. The engine is more polished. The demon fusion and the demons themselves are a little more deeper. I guess that those systems are a little deeper than they were in the first game. But it's the structure of the game. There's a lot of backtracking. There's a lot of how are you supposed to know that in this game. This game expects a lot out of its players, okay? A lot. So, you'll see situations where you'll go to a place. The first game, you would go into an area, do a thing, go to the next area, do a thing, go to the next area. In this game, they send you in an area, you do a thing, you go back, you go to a different area, you go back, and then later in the game you go back to area 1 and you do a different thing. But you might not necessarily know that that's where you got to go. Like, you'll see an event in this other area and they'll be like, where have I seen this before? Or they'll ask you to do a thing, and 10 hours before you saw an NPC that talks about how he found a thing. He found this strange object. Well, 10 hours later, you're tasked with finding the strange object. What if you didn't run into this NPC? The game expects you to explore everything, remember every NPC you've spoken with, and just talk to everybody. And if you're not 100% diligent, that can make the game really, really hard if you don't have an FAQ. Also, major tonal shift from the first game's intro. In the first game, if you recall, we had long, wavy corridors, dream sequence with heavily symbolic meaning. In this game, we've got silly music and a gem. So this is Akamoto. We are his only gladiator. We are in the tournament finals. And he is giving us a big old plot dump about how awesome we are. And I don't like that. They do that several times in this game, and I guess they kind of sort of did it in the first game, but I feel like this game has more telling and not showing going on than the first game did, and just, that's another thing I don't really like about it. I feel like we're jumping into the first chapter of the game at the end here, like right before the end of the first chapter. I feel like we missed out on all of the spectacular fights and battles and triumphs of climbing up through the tournament that he's telling us about. They're telling us instead of showing us. So, so we're Hawk, an amnesiac. Alright, Akamoto, be quiet. Let us play the game. Yeah, I got you. So, there's a lot of kind of iffy plot triggers in this game. Plot triggers that you might not necessarily understand what causes them to happen. hopefully I can help you with that. We're going into a virtual battler here. Virtual battlers are something that are present in pretty much every major town in the game. They are a place you can go into virtual space and fight demons with no harm to yourself. So you go into a virtual battler and you can gain experience, and you cannot get a game over if you die, but you also do not get money, you do not get item drops, you cannot recruit any demons. So those are the downsides. They do, for the purpose of Demon Analyze, which we don't have the Demon Analyze, we don't have the Demon Compendium yet, but for the purposes of the Demon Compendium, demons you fight in here also get added to that, so that is good. I don't know how useful that is, but, I mean, it's a thing. Generally speaking, if you're having a super hard time fighting the monsters in the area, you might go into the virtual battler in a nearby town, but you're almost always better off going just to the previous area and fighting there, because you get mag and you get money and you get item drops and you can recruit demons and then fuse them and make yourself stronger. So, yeah. I mean, so our goal here was to gain a level. You have to gain a level to advance the plot. If you go here to the end and fight this zombie, which is the boss of the battler, then, and you haven't gained a level, he still won't let you leave the gym. You just have to go back in until you gain a level. So, we're gonna rest. And I'm going to go ahead and save my game. And then I'm going to leave. And he gives you some money to go into the virtual battlers. One very subtle thing that I think is really, really neat that they don't... I'm a real big fan of subtle storytelling, you know? Stuff that's in the background that you might not notice, but when you do notice or someone points it out to you, you're like, oh man, that's cool. Akamoto's virtual battler is all green, like, wireframe. When we go into this, by the way, none of the shops will sell you anything because Akamoto owes everybody money. When you go into these virtual battlers, they all have walls and textures and things like that, and it just kind of conveys that the gym that you're a part of is really, really poor. So we're just going to go in level 1. See what I mean? How there's walls? And that is a very familiar man. So, I recently picked up SMT4 Apocalypse, and if you haven't played Apocalypse, in one of the optional, I think it's DLC, is it DLC? You team up with the protagonist from the first game, Aleph, or you team up with Hawk. Don't pretend I didn't say that. And you team up with the Demi-Fiend and Flynn from SMT4 to you fight Steven. Steven is an interesting character because he's clearly more than human, and my view of him is that the Steven in the first game that you first meet is human. Okay? and like he like uploaded his brain or something. Like he did something with computers, because he, in this game, he appears pretty much only in virtual space. And he like the Steven that you interact with after the apocalypse in the first game is not the same Steven. I think he's like a program that gained sentience or something like that, and then gained some measure of power, like possibly through appearing to so many people. And he kind of mutated into this being of power, that whereas Lucifer is the scion of chaos and YHWH is the scion of law, and he's kind of the scion of neutrality. He's the scion of let humans decide what to do with human business. And I say that because in the first game, he talks about how he got attacked by a demon. He had the teleportation program, and it opened up a gateway to, I guess, hell. I don't know. And a demon attacked him and crippled him. Well, in SMT4, he gets up out of his wheelchair and proceeds to kick your butt. SMT4 Apocalypse, that is. So, if you go in here and talk to, like I said, the game expects you to talk to all the NPCs. And this is how you know that Steven is in the Battler. But the thing is there's actually 2 plot triggers in the Battler. And it actually was really, really tricky for me to figure out, well, aren't you a jerk? I'm not wasting my time, I'm gathering information. It took me a while to figure out that there was a second plot trigger in the virtual battler, so let's go ahead and do that. It's just an example of this game's kind of plot triggers sometimes. So we're just going to go back into level 1. There's no need to really go any higher. I don't particularly want to gain any levels in here. I want to just get in, get out, and then I want to gain my levels on the world map. So this right here is... This game is very, very slanted towards law. The first game... I can make... I don't know if this is true, but for having played all the games, I think that the first 3 kind of form... like a trifecta, where the first game, I think, is slanted towards neutrality. This game is very slanted towards law. And then the third game is very slanted towards chaos. Forgive me for... I've got to move my microphone. And there's a lot of options in this game where you cannot help but get, like, just massive pushes towards law. If you let the game name these characters for you, you get a huge push in the law direction. Which, if you're going for the law ending, is fine. I actually recommend you, if you play this game, if you only do one ending, do the law ending. Because it is... first of all, I think it's actually the canon ending to this game. Because, In SMT4 Apocalypse, so there's some spoilers. So like, I'm just gonna say this. Like, there's some spoilers for Apocalypse here. Just skip ahead like 2 minutes, and then